But this is my instant match reaction to the Tottenham Hotspur 2, Roma 2 game. It looked like Tottenham were going to squeeze their way to a 2-1 victory against a team who popped the ball about nicely all game, who looked like they were playing for their manager despite them having had a very difficult season so far. But in the end, a second half fight back from Roma right at the end of the game is what really led to that non-victory, to that draw, basically. And excuse me for being a little bit disappointed, but frankly, Tottenham had enough chances. They really did. They had enough chances to make the absolute most of that and take another 3 points in the Europa League. Let's go through the game. Back in the second minute, Tottenham were 1-0 up. We got to the byline, a beautiful cutback from Pedro Porro, and Pape Matar Sarr made one of his very few runs into the box all game, and he did really well, got his foot in there before Mats Hummels, who took him out, and it was a penalty to Tottenham Hotspur. It took a couple of minutes for the VAR to agree, but once the VAR had agreed, Son Heung-min stepped up and slotted home his penalty, 1-0 Tottenham Hotspur. And then the first kind of 10 minutes or so, and actually a lot of the game, were basically like a basketball match. So much high-tempo stuff, Roma popping it about nicely, and one kind of mainstay of this game was that Roma knew that if they kept switching the ball left to right, right to left, big diags that Tottenham always defend narrow across the pitch. So there were so many opportunities created from Roma from those big diagonal balls. And with players like El Shwari, players like Dybala, they really made the most of that. Going on, though, in the 12th minute, Dybala really kind of had his first shot of the game, and he played beautifully in that first half. He kind of went away a little bit in the second half. It was just wide with a shot in the 12th minute, but that was offside anyway. Then he had a shot from the halfway line in the 14th minute, trying to catch Fraser Forster off his line, but couldn't do so. In the 15th minute, Johnson, with some really good play, got the ball across the box, but Son Heung-min hadn't quite made the right run for him, and so nothing came about from it. And then just kind of pretty much the only mistake of the game, really, from Fraser Forster in the 17th minute, where a ball was played through in the inside right channel from Roma. And he should have just come and claimed it on the ground easily, but it came all the way into his 6-yard box. And in the end, he had to kind of make a save from a shot, point blank range, from about 3 yards out. And that just showed a little bit of a lack of confidence from Forster in terms of coming out and claiming balls within his own box. And it had been coming. And in the 19th minute, Roma did equalize. It was an unnecessary free kick given away by Radu Dragusin, and Ndika scored the header from the Dybala free kick in off the bar, and nothing more than Roma deserved. And actually, they should have perhaps, or nearly went 2-1 up after 22 minutes when El Shwari had a right foot volley, brilliant finish, disallowed. And that was because of Tottenham's 18-yard backline, who always stick to their 18-yard box, the edge of the box. And time again, in fact, 3 times during this game, Spurs caught Roma offside when they would have scored goals had VAR not been there. In the 25th minute, there was a goal line scramble, amazing bit of play where Angelino twice cleared the ball off the line for Roma from Brennan Johnson and Dominic Solanke. Then in the 27th minute, a huge save from Forster, really putting to bed all of our talk about him not being able to get down to shots anymore, as Dybala had a great shot down, and it went down to Forster's left. He got there and got a big hand on it. In the melee afterwards, Deki Kulusevski was booked. Then in the 28th minute, Pape Matar Sarr won the ball high, ran at the defence, had a shot with his left foot when maybe he should have got his head up and looked to find Deki Kulusevski and Son, who were free. And that was kind of in keeping with a lot of possibilities during the rest of the game where Spurs players were kind of through. But if they just got their head up and found one more pass, I think they would have scored another goal. In the 33rd minute, that's when we scored our second goal. Beautiful finish from Johnson. Deki Kulusevski got to the byline after a beautiful long-range pass from Sarr. Got to the byline, Kulusevski cut it back, and Johnson swept it home on his left foot. He's an elite finisher, Brennan Johnson. Beautiful goal. Spurs 2-1 up. After 35 minutes, maybe we should have been 3-1 up as Kulusevski ran at the back line on the left, shot across the keeper. It hits the post, comes back out to Son Heung-min. And he actually, it's like a collector's item, this one. I've said it tonight already during the watch-along. He leant back when he's just 12 yards out. All he has to do is keep it low, and it goes in, and it goes over the bar. Beautiful play between the lines from Spurs. Sonny then had another chance on the 39th minute, tries to place it classically far corner from the left-hand side, but the keeper tips it wide. And it was, as always, Kulusevski winning the ball high that set up that move. In the 43rd minute, a similar kind of right foot bending shot from Deki just wide of the far left-hand post. And then in the 45th minute, maybe a little bit of a sign of what was to come, as a free header came to Mats Hummels from another unnecessary free kick that Spurs gave away, but he headed it wide and over. Then going into the second half, Spurs, as early as the 47th minute, were 4-on-2 against Roma, going into their back line. Solanke passed it to Deki Kulusevski, and it was just a little bit behind in the pass. And in fact, maybe Solanke should have gone to the left where Sonny was. And Hummels got back, and he played really well for Roma overall, not just because he ended up scoring the equalizer, but that was a huge tackle to stop Spurs going 3-1 up. And then really for a long time, it was a lot of Roma, really. They had a shot from outside of the box just wide in the 49th minute. Solanke got injured and ran it off, but that was in the 51st minute. That was a bit of a worry. Then came the next disallowed goal for Roma, 53rd minute. Like I said, that 18-yard box defending from Ben Davies and Radu Dragusin and the rest of their backline did really well. That was 53rd minute. A third one disallowed from them in the 54th minute. That one was even tighter. Looked to me like he might be onside, but we just got away with it. The 59th minute, Roma hit the bar, as ever, with Spurs not defending our back stick. And the ball came across on the volley, and Pedro Porro got his body in the way, and it was deflected onto the bar. Very fortunate for Tottenham Hotspur. Then in the 60th minute, a chance for a free kick as Ben Davies kind of saw a pass, intercepted it, and then ran the length of the pitch, fouled just outside the box, and Pedro Porro hits the free kick, and it grazes the top of the bar. Amazing free kick from Porro. Really good for Spurs to have free kick takers now, like Porro, like James Maddison, who we know can cause oppositions damage. Solanke in the 62nd minute was in down the left, beat his man beautifully, and then tried to find Porro with one of those kind of classic Ange ball crosses across the box to Brennan Johnson, but the defender just did really well. Again in the 66th minute, Tottenham not marking the back post. A shot came from the edge of the box just wide. Like I've just written here, Spurs struggling against the switch all game. And then the substitutes started. 67th minute, Bissouma and Madders came on for Johnson and Sarr. Another chance at the back post, easily saved by Forster in the 69th minute. Then in the 70th minute, Madders put Solanke in. Should have cut it back, but he blasted it straight at the keeper. I talked about this earlier in the review, didn't I? So many chances where Spurs probably should have just taken one more pass on it rather than taking the shot. And that was the case with Solanke there for sure. And Madders was absolutely free. And I think we would have scored the third then, and we really regretted that. In the 76th minute, Bergvall and Werner came on for Sonny and Bentancur. 80th minute, a great cross dug out from Archie Gray, just behind Solanke. He tries to head it, hits the bar from only about 3 yards, really unlucky. Then the minute after, a right foot volley from Porro, saved by the keeper. And then we got into the last minutes, and it was really squeaky bum time. To be honest, I would say that as a Spurs fan, I felt pretty sure that Roma would find a way of equalising. And they did, in fact, do that. But it was just before that, actually, in the 87th minute, where Porro made an incredible decision to try and head it back to Fraser Forster when the striker was right next to Fraser Forster, and we were lucky not to concede from that. Then Porro got a good block on a back post shot in the 89th minute. Then in the kind of first minute of added time, there were 5 minutes of added time, Fraser Forster made what I mean, it still might be the save of the season, but unfortunately kind of blighted by the fact that we conceded just after. But it was an unbelievable save from about 6-8 yards out on the volley. Whoever volleyed it absolutely leathered it. Forster tips it over the bar. And then, unfortunately, the dagger to the heart, Hummels' goal at the back post. As ever, Tottenham do not mark their back post. Really unfortunate. But in the end, I'd have to say 2-2, probably a fair result. I'll just go into the comments a little bit before I get into some interviews with some of the Spurs fans from around the world who have tuned in. Guys, as I always say, please do keep tuned in. Get your comments in. I'll try and answer as many as I can. Please do give this video a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to Chris Cowlin's channel if you're not already a subscriber for daily Spurs content. And if you'd like the cut of my jib during this watch along, go to YouTube /@Barnaby Slater _ for daily Tottenham content from me. At 11 o'clock tonight, Chris Cowlin will be back with his usual Spurs chat podcast. So make sure you keep waiting for that. Mike Barrow says, brilliant performance, at least from you, Barnaby. Come on, you Spurs. I appreciate that. Neil G says it's all too, and the word that I refuse to use, Spurs with a Y on the end. Kazafi Barry says, Maddison is done. Not sure about that. Kev G says, utter dross, delusion of being a decent side. I mean, for me, that is a little bit too negative. One of the sad things about that draw, that does mean that Spurs are now down to 9th in the Europa League table, and you want to be in the top 8 if you want to to stop that having to go into a two-legged playoff. And of course, we still got to go to Hoffenheim. We still got to go to Ibrox, two very difficult away games. Kev, I don't fully agree that was utter dross. I don't think Spurs were great personally, but also I think Roma were an improved side. I think they enjoyed playing in a game where there was less pressure on them against a team that they were supposed to lose to realistically. And they popped it about nicely. Charles Squared says, inconsistent once again. Sean, Maddison had no impact. I mean, we did hear from Ange Postecoglou before the game, didn't we, that Maddison got a kick in the game against Manchester City. So I don't think we can really expect Maddison to do too much. He also only got like 20 minutes at the end of the game. Jordan Kalen Evans, thank you for writing in, says to get this consistency we talk about, we need to learn to see out games. Another disappointing night. That is true. I agree with that. Deb says, according to the stats, Roma did not outplay us. James Cook says, Barnaby, bored by my watch along. Well, James, thank you for your engagement at the very least. Daniel Huang, thank you for writing in, says, just when you thought 2 wins in a row was coming, we pull a classic Spurs move. Daniel has also said earlier, Roma outplayed us. David Marshall says, lucky to get a draw. The inconsistency in this side is shocking. Yes, we are inconsistent, and that's true. And Ange has been very, very open about the fact that there will be ups and downs and there will be inconsistency. But we are talking about a Serie A side. We're talking about a player like Mats Hummels, one of the great players of the last decade in European football. We're talking about Dybala, really good players, and playing against a young side. And he made a good few changes, didn't he, Ange? So listen, it's not a great result by any means. It's a disappointing result, especially because, of course, we lost it at the end there. But also, listen, we didn't lose it. It could be worse. And I think the lack of rhythm of these players who don't play together all the time, that wasn't by any means the first team. That does affect us. You can see that in every single one of our Europa League games this season. There's just a lack of continuity, a lack of knowing where each player is going to be. But listen, we did have enough chances on the transition to win this game. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And we should have been more clinical. And listen, the big difference was against Man City at the week, we were clinical with our chances. Vito Danu says, you can see clearly Porro's so tired, lost concentration a few times. I thought he had a good game, I have to say, Porro. Let's see what else. Sean says, arrogant performers, no leaders. Tom Bowdler, yeah, looking for some positives. Solid 90 minutes for the goal. Yeah, I thought Fraser Forster, like, unbelievable save at the end there, as I mentioned, and did pretty well with the ball at his feet as well. So that when it comes to it, you've got to try and take your positives.